Fantrax Fantasy Football Mailbag episode heading into Week 7. I had two questions about the San Francisco backfield. Do we think Elijah Mitchell or Jordan Mason will see the work if CMC misses the Week 7 game? Also, who do you trust if CMC has to miss Monday, Mitchell or Mason? So Christian McCaffrey tagged with an oblique and rib injury. Jordan Mason in Week 6 stepped into more touches with Christian McCaffrey getting banged up. The snap percentage rose to 24%. He carried the ball 5 times for 27 yards and a touchdown. Back in Week 5 against Dallas, he ran the ball 10 times for 69 yards and a touchdown. So Jordan Mason, back-to-back games with a rushing touchdown, and he's been running the ball well. Elijah Mitchell missed Weeks 4 and 5. In Week 6, he ran the ball 2 times for -3 yards on 11% of the snaps. We do want to keep in mind that Elijah Mitchell in that rookie season did have 963 rushing yards on just 207 attempts. So we've seen Elijah Mitchell have a huge role in San Francisco. For me, it's Jordan Mason's job to lose right now. He has been the one playing more percent of the snaps. He's getting more carries. He's being productive. So if the question is strictly who would I rather have on my roster if McCaffrey were to miss Week 7, it would be Jordan Mason. He has been the one that has stepped up. For the long run, though, if we're looking at someone to handcuff for the rest of the season, I do think it's Elijah Mitchell. Mitchell has proven to be very productive when he does get the volume. The issue is staying on the field. I mean, he missed Weeks 4 and 5, so I don't think anybody expected him to, jump right into a bigger role in Week 6 after missing 2 games. So short-term, Mason, long-term, Mitchell. What's your read on the Zona backfield, and is Damian Williams the, quote, ugliest answer to the question given his usage? So back in Week 5, rookie Emari Demercado stepped in for an injured James Conner, playing 77% of the snaps. He ran the ball in that game 10 times for 45 yards and a touchdown. Everybody was running to the waiver wire for him for Week 6. And although Demercado played a team-high 43% of the snaps, he just had 3 touches. And those 3 touches were less than both Keontae Ingram and Damian Williams. Keontae Ingram in Week 6 played 37% of the snaps. He ran 10 times for 40 yards. He had 2 receptions for 11 yards. Veteran Damian Williams played 17% of the snaps, had 9 total touches. So I almost want to say, Demercado at this point is a player you need to drop. Keontae Ingram is the lead back in my opinion. We have to look at snap percentage. Yes, that's very important, but we need to look at total touches. And Keontae Ingram had the most in Week 6, and he was very productive with them. Or at least efficient, I guess. Here's a fun one. My team is 1-5, but absolutely stacked. What should I do? Hold fast, sell to see if I can change up my luck. Baker at quarterback since A. Rich went down. Bijan, Taylor, Eckler, James Cook, Chase, Waddle, Kupp, Pitts. I think if this is Dynasty, you're 1-5. This might be your week to see what's up. I mean, if you can pull off a win, go 2-5 and maybe get on a streak of dubs, then we just go that route. If you go 1-6, then I think you are starting in Dynasty to say, hey, who are the contenders in this league right now and who wants guys like, Eckler and Kupp. Make sure in both Dynasty and Redraft you look at points figured and points against. If you're scoring a lot of points but you have a ton of points against, that always says something, and I think people overlook that often. If this is Redraft, I think you just hold this core. I think there are better days for Eckler. Kupp is back, looking good. Waddle is starting to heat back up. Chase is the number 1 targeted wide receiver right now. So you just kind of grind this out because we know that these guys should be good. I don't know about Baker, but the rest of these guys for redraft purposes should be good. I wouldn't blow this up to change things up. Dynasty is different, obviously. Is this the best time to try and sell Mostert? So Raheem Mostert, very, very good for fantasy this season. He's coming off of a hot week with 115 rushing yards. He has 11 total touchdowns this season. It's a great offense to be part of when it comes to the Miami Dolphins, and Raheem Mostert has been very, very productive. I think Mostert continues to be very productive, even with Jeff Wilson set to return and probably, will be involved in the offense. So I'd continue to ride the hot hand, especially if he is winning you some matchups. The timing piece, I think, would be closer to rookie Devon Achane coming back. If you want to sell, I'd do it a week prior to that if that's your true motive. But otherwise, I mean, sometimes it's fine just to ride the hot hand if it's winning you games. Am I crazy, or is Kirk cooked for fantasy? Might just dump him after Goff's bye week. So I think people look at Christian Kirk having a really bad week and a good matchup, and him being without Justin Jefferson, and putting those things together and saying, man, he is going to be going downhill now. Kirk Cousins, I don't know if I called him Christian Kirk here. If I did, my bad. But Kirk Cousins, number one in passing attempts, number one in completions, number two in passing yards, tied for number one in touchdowns, top 10 in fantasy points. He still has TJ Hawkinson and Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne. I think he's had plenty of good days. He passes the ball at a good rate. The volume's there through the air. I don't think you just cut him. I think you look at, the Anthony Richardson manager and maybe try to trade him there. Or trade him to, the manager that has, Trevor Lawrence or somebody else that's not being super consistent for fantasy. I try very often in fantasy football to trade before I drop. I don't want to just give people something. If I can get anything, if I can pair him with a wide receiver for a slight wide receiver upgrade or something like that, I'd rather do that. But I'm also not giving up complete hope on Kirk Cousins because, again, he's been very productive this season. Hopefully Justin Jefferson's back later on, but tons of volume through the air. With the return of Kupp, should I look to trade Puka Nacua whilst his value is still high? If yes, what kind of trade value do you see him having right now? So I think you have to understand, if you have Puka, you either drafted him super late in redraft or you picked him up off of waivers. So you've had a guy that's been very, very, very productive for you at such a low cost. And that first game back with Cooper Kupp, both of those guys had double-digit targets. And I think there's more of that to come versus what we saw in Week 6 where he had his first really dud of a week. I think Puka's a guy that you can flex rest of season. Maybe he's not going to be now, your most productive wide receiver. But again, he costs you nothing, and I think he can still benefit your lineup. I also think a lot of people are probably in your mindset here of I don't know about him anymore. Cooper Kupp's back. He's the alpha. He just had a bad week. So I feel like what you can get right now for Puka is much different than what you could have 2 weeks ago. With that being said, if you just lost your quarterback, you just lost Anthony Richardson, or you just lost a running back, you had somebody that went down is on the IR. And you can trade Puka 1-for-1 for a position that you really, really need, then do that. Don't just sell to sell. I think either keep and ride it out, or sell for a very, very important piece to your team that's missing. A piece that, you're lacking and would start for you on a week-to-week basis, not just some more depth somewhere else. Hit us up next week with your questions to be featured on the Mailbag episode presented to you by Fantrax.